Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
A branch of knowledge. Anthropology is the study of human beings. Give careful consideration to. Applying the mind to learning and understanding a subject, especially by reading. No schools offer graduate study in interior design. Attentive consideration and meditation. Preliminary drawing for later elaboration. Think intently and at length, as for spiritual purposes. He is meditating in his study. Learn by reading books. He is studying geology in his room. A detailed critical inspection. A written document describing the findings of some individual or group. This accords with the recent study by Hill and Dale. Be a student of a certain subject. Consider in detail and subject to an analysis in order to discover essential features or meaning. A composition intended to develop one aspect of the performer's technique. A study in spiccato bowing. A room used for reading and writing and studying. He knocked lightly on the closed door of the study. A state of deep mental absorption. She is in a deep study. Be a student. Follow a course of study. Be enrolled at an institute of learning. Someone who memorizes quickly and easily, as the lines for a part in a play. He is a quick study. A branch of knowledge. The area over which a bailiff has jurisdiction. A branch of knowledge. In what discipline is his doctorate? Develop, a child's or animal's, behavior by instruction and practice, especially to teach self-control. Parents must discipline their children. The act of disciplining. The offenders deserved the harsh discipline they received. Punish in order to gain control or enforce obedience. The teacher disciplined the pupils rather frequently. A system of rules of conduct or method of practice. He quickly learned the discipline of prison routine. The trait of being well behaved. He insisted on discipline among the troops. Training to improve strength or self-control. A branch of knowledge. A particular kind of commercial enterprise. They are outstanding in their field. The area that is visible, as through an optical instrument. A particular environment or walk of life. The space around a radiating body within which its electromagnetic oscillations can exert force on another similar body not in contact with it. A piece of land prepared for playing a game. The home crowd cheered when Princeton took the field. A place where planes take off and land. Extensive tract of level open land. He longed for the fields of his youth. A region where a battle is being, or has been, fought. They made a tour of Civil War battlefields. A region in which active military operations are in progress. The army was in the field awaiting action. A geographic region, land or sea, under which something valuable is found. The diamond fields of South Africa. All of the horses in a particular horse race. All the competitors in a particular contest or sporting event. Answer adequately or successfully. The lawyer fielded all questions from the press. A piece of land cleared of trees and usually enclosed. He planted a field of wheat. Catch or pick up balls in baseball or cricket. Computer science. A set of one or more adjacent characters comprising a unit of information. Mathematics. A set of elements such that addition and multiplication are commutative and associative and multiplication is distributive over addition and there are two elements 0 and 1. The set of all rational numbers is a field. Play as a fielder. Select a team or individual player for a game. The Buckeyes fielded a young new quarterback for the Rose Bowl. Somewhere, away from a studio or office or library or laboratory, where practical work is done or data is collected. Anthropologists do much of their work in the field. A branch of knowledge. A branch of knowledge. Teachers should be well trained in their subject. Possibly accepting or permitting. The time is fixed by the director and players and therefore subject to much variation. A person who owes allegiance to that nation. A monarch has a duty to his subjects. Being under the power or sovereignty of another or others. Subject peoples. Make subservient. Forced to submit or subdue. The subject matter of a conversation or discussion. He didn't want to discuss that subject. Something, a person or object or scene, selected by an artist or photographer for graphic representation. A moving picture of a train is more dramatic than a still picture of the same subject. A person who is subjected to experimental or other observational procedures. Someone who is an object of investigation. The subjects for this investigation were selected randomly. Some situation or event that is thought about. He had been thinking about the subject for several years. Cause to experience or suffer or make liable or vulnerable to. He subjected me to his awful poetry. Grammar. One of the two main constituents of a sentence. The grammatical constituent about which something is predicated. Likely to be affected by something. The bond is subject to taxation. Logic. The first term of a proposition. Make accountable for. He did not want to subject himself to the judgments of his superiors. A branch of knowledge. A branch of knowledge. Show consideration for. Take into account. You must consider her age. Give careful consideration to. Consider the possibility of moving. Judge or regard. Look upon, judge. Look at carefully. Study mentally. Think about carefully, weigh. They considered the possibility of a strike. Look at attentively. Take into consideration for exemplifying purposes. Deem to be. I consider her to be shallow. Regard or treat with consideration, respect, and esteem. Please consider your family. Make uniform. Work the clay until it is soft. Perform as expected when applied. This old radio doesn't work anymore. Be employed. Is your husband working again? Applying the mind to learning and understanding a subject, especially by reading. Mastering a second language requires a lot of work. Have and exert influence or effect. The artist's work influenced the young painter. Make something, usually for a specific function. Cause to happen or to occur as a consequence. I cannot work a miracle. The occupation for which you are paid. A lot of people are out of work. Cause to work. He is working his servants hard. Find the solution to a problem or question, or understand the meaning of. This unpleasant situation isn't going to work itself out. A product produced or accomplished through the effort or activity or agency of a person or thing. It is not regarded as one of his more memorable works. Have an effect or outcome, often the one desired or expected. The voting process doesn't work as well as people thought. Use or manipulate to one's advantage. She knows how to work the system. Proceed along a path. Work one's way through the crowd. Prepare for crops. Shape, form, or improve a material. Work stone into tools. A place where work is done. He arrived at work early today. Cause to undergo fermentation. The vintner worked the wine in big oak vats. The total output of a writer or artist, or a substantial part of it. Picasso's work can be divided into periods. Give a workout to. My personal trainer works me hard. Go sour or spoil. The wine worked. Activity directed toward making or doing something. She checked several points needing further work. Arrive at a certain condition through repeated motion. The stitches of the hem worked loose after she wore the skirt many times. Behave in a certain way when handled. This dough does not work easily. Cause to operate or function. This pilot works the controls. Exert oneself by doing mental or physical work for a purpose or out of necessity. I will work hard to improve my grades. Gratify and charm, usually in order to influence. The political candidate worked the crowds. Move in an agitated manner. His fingers worked with tension. Move into or onto. Work the raisins into the dough. Operate in a certain place, area, or specialty. She works the nightclubs. Operate in or through. Physics, a manifestation of energy. The transfer of energy from one physical system to another expressed as the product of a force and the distance through which it moves a body in the direction of that force. Work equals force times distance. Proceed towards a goal or along a path or through an activity. Work your way through every problem or task. Provoke or excite. The rock musician worked the crowd of young girls into a frenzy. Attentive consideration and meditation. After much cogitation, he rejected the offer. A carefully considered thought about something. His cogitations were dutifully recorded in his daybook. Short descriptive summary of events. A brief literary description. Make a sketch of. Sketch the building. Preliminary drawing for later elaboration. A humorous or satirical drawing published in a newspaper or magazine. Describe roughly or briefly or give the main points or summary of. Sketch the outline of the book. Think intently and at length, as for spiritual purposes. Reflect deeply on a subject. Consider as a possibility. I contemplated leaving school and taking a full-time job. Look at thoughtfully. Observe deep in thought. Contemplate one's navel. Think intently and at length, as for spiritual purposes. Reflect deeply on a subject. Learn by reading books. I have an exam next week. I must hit the books now. Short descriptive summary of events. The act of looking or seeing or observing. His survey of the battlefield was limited. Consider in a comprehensive way. Hold a review of troops. A detailed critical inspection. Keep under surveillance. Look over carefully or inspect. He surveyed his new classmates. Make a survey of, for statistical purposes. Plot a map of land. An essay, especially one written as an assignment. To give an account or representation of in words. The act of informing by verbal report. He heard reports that they were causing trouble. A written evaluation of a student's scholarship and deportment. His father signed his report card. Be responsible for reporting the details of, as in journalism. Snow reported on China in the 1950s. A short account of the news. The report of his speech. A written document describing the findings of some individual or group. The general estimation that the public has for a person. He was a person of bad report. Announce as the result of an investigation or experience or finding. Dozens of incidents of wife beatings are reported daily in this city. Announce one's presence. I report to work every day at 9 o'clock. A sharp explosive sound, especially the sound of a gun firing. They heard a violent report followed by silence. Complain about. Make a charge against. I reported her to the supervisor. Make known to the authorities. One student reported the other to the principal. A written document describing the findings of some individual or group. Commit to memory. Learn by heart. Impart skills or knowledge to. Get to know or become aware of, usually accidentally. I learned that she has 2 grown-up children. Find out, learn, or determine with certainty, usually by making an inquiry or other effort. Gain knowledge or skills. She learned dancing from her sister. Be a student of a certain subject. Have or contain a certain wording or form. The passage reads as follows. Make sense of a language. Can you read Greek? Obtain data from magnetic tapes or other digital sources. This dictionary can be read by the computer. Indicate a certain reading of gauges and instruments. The gauge read, empty. Interpret something in a certain way. Convey a particular meaning or impression. I read this address as a satire. Be a student of a certain subject. She is reading for the bar exam. Audition for a stage role by reading parts of a role. Interpret something that is written or printed. Read the advertisement. Interpret the significance of, as of palms, tea leaves, intestines, the sky, also of human behavior. She read the sky and predicted rain. Look at, interpret, and say out loud something that is written or printed. The king will read the proclamation at noon. Something that is read. The article was a very good read. To hear and understand. I read you loud and clear. The income or profit arising from such transactions as the sale of land or other property. Be capable of holding or containing. This box won't take all the items. Remove something concrete, as by lifting, pushing, or taking off, or remove something abstract. Take the gun from your pocket. Serve oneself to, or consume regularly. I don't take sugar in my coffee. Make a film or photograph of something. Take a scene. Be designed to hold or take. This surface will not take the dye. Require, time or space. Take somebody somewhere. Can you take me to the main entrance? Have sex with. Archaic use. He had taken this woman when she was most vulnerable. Have with oneself. Have on one's person. She always takes an umbrella. Receive or obtain regularly. We take the Times every day. Admit into a group or community. Head into a specified direction. Pick out, select, or choose from a number of alternatives. Take into consideration for exemplifying purposes. Assume, as of positions or roles. Interpret something in a certain way. Convey a particular meaning or impression. How should I take this message? Lay claim to, as of an idea. Accept or undergo, often unwillingly. Make use of or accept for some purpose. Take a risk. Take something or somebody with oneself somewhere. Engage for service under a term of contract. Shall we take a guide in Rome? Be stricken by an illness, fall victim to an illness. Take on a certain form, attribute, or aspect. Take as an undesirable consequence of some event or state of affairs. Get into one's hands, take physically. Can you take this bag, please? Require as useful, just, or proper. It takes nerve to do what she did. Occupy or take on. Receive willingly something given or offered. Be a student of a certain subject. Proceed along in a vehicle. Point or cause to go, blows, weapons, or objects such as photographic equipment, towards. Ascertain or determine by measuring, computing or take a reading from a dial. Take a pulse. Be seized or affected in a specified way. Take sick. Buy, select. I'll take a pound of that sausage. Carry out. Take action. Experience or feel or submit to. Obtain by winning. Winner takes all. Take by force. Take into one's possession. I'll take 3 salmon steaks. The act of photographing a scene or part of a scene without interruption. Travel or go by means of a certain kind of transportation, or a certain route. He takes the bus to work. Subject to psychoanalytic treatment. Break down into components or essential features. Consider in detail and subject to an analysis in order to discover essential features or meaning. Make a mathematical, chemical, or grammatical analysis of. Break down into components or essential features. Subject to psychoanalytic treatment. I was analyzed in Vienna by a famous psychiatrist. Break down into components or essential features. Analyze today's financial market. Consider in detail and subject to an analysis in order to discover essential features or meaning. Analyze a sonnet by Shakespeare. Make a mathematical, chemical, or grammatical analysis of. Break down into components or essential features. Analyze a specimen. A large piece of fabric, usually canvas fabric, by means of which wind is used to propel a sailing vessel. A heavy, closely woven fabric, used for clothing or chairs or sails or tents. A tent made of canvas fabric. An oil painting on canvas fabric. An inquiry into public opinion conducted by interviewing a random sample of people. The setting for a narrative or fictional or dramatic account. The map that forms the floor of the ring in which boxers or professional wrestlers compete. Consider in detail and subject to an analysis in order to discover essential features or meaning. Get the opinions of people by asking specific questions. Solicit votes from potential voters in an electoral campaign. Put to the test, as for its quality, or give experimental use to. Observe, check out, and look over carefully or inspect. The customs agent examined the baggage. Consider in detail and subject to an analysis in order to discover essential features or meaning. Question or examine thoroughly and closely. Question closely. People in general, especially a distinctive group of people with some shared interest. Mathematics, the set of values of the independent variable for which a function is defined. The content of a particular field of knowledge. A particular environment or walk of life. Territory over which rule or control is exercised. His domain extended into Europe. The content of a particular field of knowledge. The content of a particular field of knowledge. Come up with an idea, plan, explanation, theory, or principle, after a mental effort. Excogitate a way to measure the speed of light. Reflect deeply on a subject. The scientist must stop to observe and start to excogitate. Reflect deeply on a subject. Be bright by reflecting or casting light. Drive carefully, the wet road reflects. Reflect deeply on a subject. To throw or bend back, from a surface. Sound is reflected well in this auditorium. Give evidence of a certain behavior. His lack of interest in the project reflects badly on him. Give evidence of the quality of. The mess in his dorm room reflects on the student. Manifest or bring back. This action reflects his true beliefs. Show an image of. Her sunglasses reflected his image.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.